Howdy, folks. Welcome to the 10th episode of the 2026 Primary Election Analysis Series. In today's episode, we will be discussing the May 16th Louisiana primary election. If you've watched previous episodes in this series, this next 4.5 minutes will contain some familiar information, although it has been changed for this episode. Give this segment another watch, and you can skip it in future episodes as it will be reused for the next few going forward. Or preferably don't. The additional watch time will help the channel in this soul-crushing algorithm. For those of you who are new to this channel, here is why I make the 2026 Primary Election Analysis Series. Every U.S. state has different rules, procedures, and voting days for their primary elections. This information constantly changes over time, adding unnecessary complexity to the process. The goal of this series is to help educate my fellow Americans on this information as best as I can. Trump and the Epstein class continue to destroy everything they involve themselves in, and our Congress is still spineless and complicit in their crimes. They should be calling for impeachment. Every member in the House has the ability to, under Rule 9, as explained here further on the Citizens Impeachment website. Impeachment is the first responsibility of a brand new Congress, followed by abolishing ICE, ending U.S. war crimes, and indicting everyone in the billionaire, robber baron, child-raping Epstein class for their crimes against humanity. Those who campaign on these issues demonstrate an understanding of the congressional responsibility required at this time. As our current Congress remains spineless and complicit, the first priority I want to hear out of every Democratic candidate, independent or third-party candidate, the party doesn't matter, the message does, and that message must start with impeach Trump and abolish ICE. That's not the full message, and each candidate should have their own priorities after that. Here are several examples of what those additional priorities should include. Under healthcare and human rights, creating a single-payer healthcare program and expanding the services covered is a very important issue. It is time to end our broken for-profit healthcare system, and anything less than a single-payer program isn't going to address the root cause of this issue. While discussing healthcare, it's important to emphasize how healthcare is a human right. Many Democrats have been failing their constituents by adopting right-wing framing on several issues that target and harm women, immigrants, the disabled, and trans communities. Women must have the right to all forms of healthcare, including abortions. That is to be decided between them and their doctor. Likewise, everyone in the trans community should be able to pursue the healthcare they desire to improve their quality of life. Human beings with disabilities also deserve healthcare and a dignified life, just as anyone else does. Immigrants must also be able to pursue healthcare when needed and enjoy their life without the constant fear of being human trafficked by the racist Gestapo terrorists in ICE. I believe in freedom and human rights. Clearly, MAGA and the fascist right Epstein class do not. They are a death cult targeting trans, disabled, and immigrants for deportations and death. Either we are all free or none of us are free. That is why it's important to protect every community being targeted by this MAGA fascism. They want us fighting each other when the real enemy is the Epstein class. An additional human right is our right to economic dignity. A higher minimum wage, universal basic income, expand free education for college and trade school and a Green New Deal, homeowner and renter protections, and right to repair laws. These are all policies necessary to begin the process of fixing this shithole country. To pay for this is easy. A one-time wealth tax to abolish billionaires and reforming the U.S. income tax system so wealth inequality never reaches these ridiculous levels ever again. The only candidates we can trust to fight for these reforms are the ones not financed by the Epstein class. Candidates who will overturn Citizens United and abolish money in politics. Will every candidate I endorse support every policy I list in exactly the way I want? Of course not. That's not how reality works. And so many on the left coalition need to grow the fuck up and accept that. But that also doesn't mean shut your brain off and be a vote blue no matter who party loyalist. In this series, we will review what candidates meet the policies discussed. The more in alignment their policies are with mine, yeah, that does make them a better candidate, but that is not all required when campaigning. It is up to the candidates to earn votes by meeting with their constituents. As you look for candidates to support in your local, state, and federal elections, it can be difficult. Time is limited and billions of dollars are being spent through shell companies purchasing advertisements to influence the outcomes of these elections. These groups listed are doing their part to help candidates fight back against the billions of dollars in dark money. They are organizations that I refer to when deciding which congressional candidates to approve for this series. I'm not affiliated with any organization listed here, nor with any candidate I endorse. Simply, I want to see our country improve. With the information provided in these videos, I hope it helps guide voters in the correct direction instead of continuing to vote against our own interests and electing Epstein-class puppets. Let's now review the primary election process and candidates running in the state of Louisiana for the U.S. Congress. This is a state with an average population size of around 4.5 million people. This gives them 6 seats in the House of Representatives. Currently, 2 of them are held by Democrats, but when those Dems take money from the same corporate and foreign interest lobbies as the other Republicans, are they really any better? Both their senators are geriatric Republicans determined to die in office, and their governor is also a Republican. My apologies, Louisiana, but the situation can be improved. For Congress, not every seat has to remain in the control of an AIPAC-funded, genocide-supporting, Epstein-class jackass. While many have written off Louisiana as a Republican state, I believe this state, like many in the country, contain more people who do want better for themselves and others, but many of them just don't vote. There isn't a great candidate for every seat, but if the voters in Louisiana want to organize to improve lives, I have found 4 candidates deserving of the secular lefty-approved spotlight. Before discussing them, let's first review the primary process the candidates and the voters must navigate to win. If you have watched previous videos in this series, the states up to this point so far have been relatively straightforward. Some states do make their elections more complicated by using different rules for different seats. Louisiana is one of these. Prior to 2026, their congressional elections, along with all their elected offices, were done by a unique process called a majority vote system. The primary process was a variation on what is referred to as a top 2 primary or jungle primary. In these types of primaries, multiple candidates representing multiple political parties would all be running on the same ballot. These primaries are open, so voters could vote for any candidate they believe best represented them from any party. Whoever the top 2 vote earners are, move on to the general election, even if both candidates are from the same party. We will discuss this system again 3 more times throughout the series. California and Washington have a top 2 system, and Alaska has a similar system for the top 4 candidates. This election process is still used in Louisiana for their statewide offices. What makes this process a unique system is that there technically isn't a primary. When looking for more information on Louisiana's primary process, I found this article from Independent Voter News published back in July of 2025, describing the new voting changes. For the old system, the first round of voting takes place the day of the November general election for even number years, and changes to October for elections in odd number years. Because why the hell not? Why not make the process even more difficult and inconsistent for people to participate in? To win in these elections, a majority of votes are required. This means a candidate must get at minimum 50% plus 1 vote to win. If no candidate reaches this threshold, then the top 2 candidates move on to a special runoff election the following month. Most states so far have had relatively simple primary processes. Because of Louisiana changing their election system for this year, this section required some additional research to make sure I was giving you the correct information. Louisiana politicians running for the state legislature, I would highly recommend running on election reform, preferably advocating for some version of ranked choice voting. In fact, I recommend that for all elections in every state. However, for these 2026 primary elections, candidates for U.S. Congress, along with Louisiana Supreme Court, State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the Public Service Commission, will now use a semi-closed primary process. This means to vote in the primary, voters have to either register with the party of whose primary they are voting in, or be unaffiliated with any party and can decide which partisan ballot they want to participate in on Election Day. From that same Independent Voter News article, they informed us that there was an independent political party that was recently removed from the state's list of recognized political parties as part of Act 84. Many voters were not aware when registering as independent that they were joining a party. The official designation for independent voters in Louisiana is no party. This change was made to surprisingly increase voter participation in the new semi-closed primary process. While I understand how the optics of removing a political party would normally appear to be undemocratic, they explain further, this change will add about 151,000 voters who were registered independent to the roughly 658,000 who were already registered no party. Louisiana is a state with a population of around 4.5 million people. The eligible voting population is much less than that, and about 40% of them don't vote in the general elections, and even more don't vote in other elections. This is the point so many partisan hacks in both corporate Epstein parties fail to understand. The general election results may show a close 50-50 split between Democratic and Republican votes, but the deciding majority of voters are the independents in the country that, for various reasons, have no interest with aligning with a political party. I understand this decision as I, too, don't give a fuck about political parties. I care about the message that will lead to policy actions that improve the most lives. It is the party with the better political message that should end up winning. Since Democrats have abandoned policies that improve lives to maintain their Epstein-class donor money, many people in every state have, likewise, abandoned the Democratic Party and politics in general. With these videos, my intention is to inform voters of their primary election process, and as long as there are candidates worth supporting, I will give them a spotlight. I hope this information may motivate some Americans back into the political process so we can work together to improve everyone's life. I want to continue providing this information, but the time I can allocate to the research and editing of these videos is limited to the spare time after my other job. Some of you have already started to support me on Patreon, and I am extremely grateful and thankful for your support. In order to make these videos full-time, I need more of you to consider doing the same, even if it's just $1 each month. I don't have backing from the rich, and I have no desire to sell out for ad deals or other nonsense like that. If you're able to, please consider helping me reach the goal of $4,000 a month on Patreon. If reached, I can make these videos and more political policy-related content full-time. And I'll stop with these Patreon plugs. In the next segment, we will discuss 4 Democratic candidates. Whether you are a Louisiana voter in that district or for the U.S. Senate race, I hope you will consider voting for these candidates because of their policy positions. These primary elections are now semi-closed primaries. To register to vote or change voter registration in Louisiana, this information from the National Conference of State Legislatures informs us you have 30 days to do this before an election in person or by mail, and 20 days to do it if online. Now, this is the source I have been using for that information in previous episodes to this point, but I have found another resource that displays this information even better. This is from the website Vote 411. They have information for all 50 states listed, and I'll be referencing this site for other primary analysis videos moving forward. Here they have all the important dates and deadline information displayed in a decent, compact way. The primary is, again, on Saturday, May 16th. To register to vote, it needs to be done online by April 25th. If you decide to register in person, it has to be done by April 15th. If you mail in your registration, it has to be postmarked by the 15th. So make sure you get that registration sorted out after this video. Let's now discuss the candidates who are worth voting for and why sorting out your voter registration will be worth the effort. In the 1st District, there is the Citizens Impeachment Courage candidate Lauren Jewett. Her campaign page doesn't read as left as I would prefer, but overall, she's still a fantastic candidate and who is doing events with her community, talking about policy with voters and listening to their concerns to be a better Congress member once elected. While Ballotpedia still shows a primary with 2 candidates, the other candidate has dropped out, and Lauren is running unopposed in the primary and will be moving on to the general election in November. Despite being unopposed, still, go vote for her and all other candidates on the ballot for both the U.S. Senate and the state and local level elections. Now, the 1st District of Louisiana is very Republican at the moment. In 2024, the incumbent, Steve Scalise, received 66.8% of the vote, while the Democrat only got 24%. Another 7% of the vote went to the 2 other Republican candidates. This seat won't be easy for Lauren to win, but not impossible if she puts in the work and communicates her message to constituents effectively. She could be the candidate to flip the seat in November. In the 2nd and 3rd districts, there weren't any candidates inspiring enough for me to spend time discussing them. Unfortunately for those voters, the choice for those seats will only be the slightly less fascist Epstein class servant. While this is disappointing, as mentioned with District 1 voters, there are still the state and local level elections to support candidates in, and the U.S. Senate election with a secular lefty-approved candidate. The 4th district is the one I am most excited to discuss in today's video. This is the seat currently held by Epstein's servant and pedophile protector, Mike I Don't Know Johnson.
If the president were to accept an airplane from the Qatari government, should Congress have approval over that kind of gift?
Look, I've been a little busy on reconciliations. I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar jet. I've certainly heard about it. Look, there are authorities that police executive branch ethics rules. I'm not an expert in that.
Well, look, I don't know anything about the dinner.
That's not my lane. I don't know. We've not seen the calculation nor the formal request yet, and I'm going to act upon it until we do.
I haven't seen it. I can't comment on it. I've been a little busy.
I don't know what's being implied by that.
I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I'm not read in on it, and I haven't spoken to the White House about it. I'm not following the day-to-day on that.
I have no idea where that comes from.
I haven't seen the specifics of that, and I don't know. Well, I've not seen them cross the line yet. I have not heard or looked into any of the details of that. I've been a little busy. I don't know all the details of all the individual allegations, and we have no idea. I don't know who any of these people are. I never heard of them. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. We don't have a political strategy here. I don't have a strategy. Terrible. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. I don't know any of the details of this at all. I don't know the latest developments. I don't know the details about that. I don't know any of the details of that yet. I haven't seen or heard any of those videos. I don't know anything about that. I didn't see the interview. I know about as much about it as you do.
As mentioned at the bottom of the screen, a big shout out to Aaron Rupar, who archives thousands of these political speaking moments on his social media accounts. Also a thanks to the Tim, the YouTuber who put these clips together, and asking the direct question of Mike Johnson's motives. The old question of stupidity or malicious lies. In the case of Johnson, it's both. He's both stupid and lying to support the crimes and genocides of the Epstein class. Voters in the 4th District, there's a much better candidate you can elect to replace Mike Johnson, if Democrats nominate him in the primary first. That is candidate and farmer Conrad Cable. This is another secular lefty-approved candidate with a great campaign page filled with clear policy stances. He does it in a way where the information is organized by a main policy idea with related sub-policies underneath. More importantly, that's not where the information ends. Each section has a paragraph or two discussing the policy in more depth. This is a much more welcomed format than compared to certain candidate pages who just have large amounts of text on their webpage for policies. Very few people, if any, want to read your 3 to 5 page short essay on healthcare or education policy. Include it if you wish, but place it under an additional info tab or somewhere else on your webpage. More candidates should take notes on this policy page, because there is also the opposite problem, which is far more concerning. When candidates use vague language or don't have a policy page on their website, if they even have a website separate from their donation page, those candidates don't believe in anything, or more specifically, choose not to believe in anything to prove themselves worthy of that Epstein class super PAC money. As a secular lefty-approved candidate, many of the policies he lists are in direct alignment with the policies I listed at the beginning of this video. To learn more about Conrad and to consider supporting his campaign, visit his website to learn more about those policies. As far as his chances of winning in the general election, in 2024, Mike Johnson won running against another Republican. In 2020, the last time Johnson ran against a Democrat, the two Democratic candidates had a combined total of around 33% of the vote. If Conrad wins the primary election, if any candidate is going to flip that seat, it's going to be Conrad Cable. In the 5th District, the Republican incumbent is not running for re-election. This will give the Democratic candidate, whoever they are, some assistance as the Republican candidate won't have that incumbent name recognition advantage. In 2024, This was another seat in which voters went around 75% for the Republican candidates and only 25% for the Democrat. I by no means want to give the false impression these seats are easily winnable, because they are not. But the people in these districts should not be forgotten about either. They deserve the option of good candidates for representation, as does everyone else in the country. In the Democratic primary, there are currently 5 candidates running in this district. After reviewing the candidates' campaign pages, the one that stood out the most was Jessee Fleenor. Additionally, he ran before in 2018 and earned 30% of the vote. 2026 could be the year he wins the general election, as long as he wins the primary first. His campaign page provided me enough evidence to be the secular lefty approved candidate, but you'll have to make the choice if he is worth voting for. When doing searches on candidates for this district, I stumbled upon another great progressive YouTube channel, and I'll include that link down below as well. The channel is called Bayou Progressive, and they are a non-profit media platform providing political news as it relates to southern Louisiana. They have done interviews so far with 3 of the candidates running in the 5th district. Voters in that district, or if you are just someone interested to learn more about southern Louisiana politics, then here are some more videos and a new channel for you to check out. After finishing this video, of course. The final district isn't much to talk about. The 6th district's incumbent, an APAC Democrat, is running unopposed. A pity. But I can't stress this next point enough. Even if there isn't any inspiring candidates for a particular race, you as a voter should verify what other elections are happening that your vote can decide. For every Louisiana voter, geriatric Republican Senator Bill Cassidy is up for re-election. We will now discuss the best Senate candidate to take him on in the general election. The Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate race currently has 3 candidates running. When looking at the results back in 2022, the last time Louisiana had a Senate seat open, the Republican won comfortably with 61.6% of the vote, while 3 Democrats only earned about 33% of the vote combined. Many will write off this race and just believe the geriatric Republican incumbent Bill Cassidy will win. While a large portion is up to the candidate themselves to put in the work to win, we can also help candidates to inform more voters of their message. The secular lefty approved candidate is Farmer Jamie Davis. He has the best policy positions of the candidates running, although I do take slight issue with the wording in his healthcare section. He states, "Support a transition to Medicare option for all." Again, this combines 2 different, although yes related, healthcare policy ideas in a confusing and sloppy way. Medicare for all, or a single-payer healthcare plan, would ideally abolish private health insurance companies and guarantees healthcare coverage to all when they need it, free at the point of service or for a small copay. Some plans would even still allow private insurance, but only in a much smaller supplemental insurance capacity. A public option does not guarantee coverage, but it does allow the option for every citizen to sign into the program, but will allow private health insurance companies to continue the problems they cause today. While I am disappointed by the poor wording here, based on the rest of Jamie's policies and other information on his webpage, I believe that he is sincere in wanting to work to improve people's lives. This is the type of candidates we need in Congress, and I hope the voters in Louisiana will agree. Of the 7 congressional seats up for election in Louisiana, these 4 are the secular lefty approved candidates. On May 16th, I recommend voting for these candidates. If they win their primaries, I can't guarantee they will win in a general election. If the districts or the whole state just have too many MAGA cultists, then we just simply don't have the votes to win. Otherwise, and what I believe to be the case, is that there are more voters out there in those districts that just don't vote. If you are normally a non-voter, but complain about how everything is terrible, which, yes, it is, and I hear you, but voting for authentic, trustworthy candidates running on actually changing our broken system is our best chance of getting those changes made. As we go through this election cycle, there are some additional races that I will mention in an attempt to bring more visibility to their campaigns. As this channel gains more subscribers and you share these videos on social media, it helps spread awareness about these campaigns and increases their chances of winning their primaries. I have 3 more candidates here. The first is Vance Bostic, running in New York's 8th District. Their candidate filing deadline closes on April 6th. So I hope he makes that ballot to give the voters in New York's 8th District a real choice instead of being left with Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem does not deserve that seat, as he supports the Epstein class and fails to call for impeachment. Next, in Michigan, a spotlight for the U.S. Senate race there. Another election poisoned by AIPAC money and establishment misdirection. The best candidate is Abdul El-Sayed, the physician and co-author of the book Medicare for All, A Citizen's Guide. This is the best candidate in that race. Michigan's candidate filing deadline closes on May 26th, and they vote on August 4th. So there's still some time for this election, but it's important to keep an eye on it for now. I talked more about this race in my previous Secular Lefty chat episode that reviewed the Illinois primary results. We need to avoid more losses like we had in Illinois. If you hadn't seen that episode yet, I recommend you go checking it out after finishing this video. The last candidate I want to spotlight is for the 1st District in my home state of Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania candidate filing deadline ended on March 10th, and Secular Lefty approved candidate Lucia Simonelli has made the ballot. Another candidate who supports Medicare for All and impeaching Trump, she will be the candidate I vote for in the May 19th primary election in Pennsylvania's 1st District. Louisiana votes on May 16th, and these 4 are the Secular Lefty approved candidates. If you disagree, or if there is any relevant information I may have missed, let me know in the comments. The next primary elections to take place are the states of Indiana and Ohio voting on Tuesday, May 5th, followed by Nebraska and West Virginia the following Tuesday on May 12th. Those episodes are out now. If you know anyone who lives in those states, please share the channel and those videos with them. The next videos in the primary election analysis series will be the 6 states voting on May 19th. Those are Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. I hope to have these done in a somewhat decent time frame, but we will see. Many of those states still require the research, which is no quick task either. But once they are released, be sure you have subscribed and ring that bell to be notified of my newest videos. If you found anything I said in today's video useful, please give it a like and share this video everywhere. Together, we can make more Americans more educated, and hopefully that will result in better election outcomes. Until the next video, please consider checking out my other work on this channel. I still need more watch hours to be eligible for that basic ad income from YouTube, so any additional watch time you can provide is greatly appreciated. Thank you again for listening. Take care.